Hello everyone and welcome to a new Blackboard where I'm gonna put a flat earth on top and ask a question why it makes sense to believe in it. Well, first of all, we're gonna talk about the authority, and it's like the biggest thing that supports the globe is believing that NASA is actually outputting the truth, and there's so much accumulated work that they have outputted, which all can be like negated when you look from this perspective, flat earth being true. And there's going to be an additional perspective that I'm going to add, where I'm going to say that it's probably corrupted, and no matter how much they're going to output, they're just going to invest in themselves. The next point I'm going to make is that you have to spend at least 30 hours investigating the flat earth until you can actually talk about it, right? You shouldn't get into a conversation no matter how much you know about everything else. You should at least spend 30 hours investigating it. Now, I stand from the perspective where I'm a programmer, right? And I kind of tend to learn about everything, while other people tend to focus on things and learn a little bit more in certain directions. I tend to focus and learn about mostly everything. There's some blind spots that I might have, but I try to learn a lot about everything so I would know how people behave, how the basics work, so just to have this very good foundation of how logic works. So when I say 30 hours, that's kind of like this my prediction of how much time you have to spend. That's the thing that had to, with all the truths that I know, that's the amount of time that I had to research flat earth until I kind of like, yeah, I would say it makes sense with all the truth that I know, and it's supposed to be the basic truth. So you don't have to learn much about everything else and say all these meaningless words that you hold in your vocabulary that nobody can understand. This is pretty simple, okay? So the numbers should be credible. Now I put AdventureCraft as a topic to understand how if you lay down a lie, you cannot like build on top of it. It's just impossible. Once you destroy the foundation, or the foundation turns out to be a lie, everything else just falls down as well. The whole building collapses. There's no value if you just build a building incorrectly and it just falls down. You lose so much value that you could have gotten if you just spend a little bit more time. Just like I say, spend a little bit more time, but you will not engage in meaningless conversations, especially here with me, because I'll quickly gonna figure out that you're doing that. So just stay away. Just try to figure out that if you're smart enough to do something, then do it. Another thing is the Minecraft. That's the block that usually represents Minecraft, but in a sense Minecraft has become this idea, and usually ideas are definitions of something, right? If this virtual 3D reality that is created by blocks, well, the first game that actually explored that to a very, very core was Minecraft. So we kind of identify Minecraft as this nature of this 3D blocky environment. Anyways, we kind of have this very, very close resemblance to reality, especially once we have the limits that it's actually a very limited world that we live in, and we have to take care of it. But we can also create the alternative realities for ourselves, and we can no longer focus that we have to like build something very, very complex in this reality. We can actually create games that are as complex as Minecraft, that allow us for so much to do, and that's somewhat feels like that's how God intended to be. And the last point, I will try to encourage everyone else who just went for the flat earth and they kind of feel like, well, perhaps I should expose that to more people. I will just encourage that to happen more often. If people kind of feel that they want to go this path, that it's pretty important to expose this, and I will give more reasons in the next video, and how the transition is going to happen a lot faster, and this is basically heaven on earth, which I describe in the fourth topic, where you kind of have these games created by individuals. They create their own realities. Basically, that's going to create something really cool. So let's start with the authority. The biggest thing that supports Globe is the authority behind it. It's always like this. You know, when you want to get information from something about some kind of matter, you go to the authority, what is already established. So who is supporting NASA? NASA is supported by government. And do you trust government? Who's government supported by? Well, government is supported by itself, because it controls everything, basically. It can manipulate into how much power the government itself has, and if the system is self-supporting, everything else that it controls, it's not gonna like that. So anything like I don't know the examples here. I would try to take like an example of let's say a human being. That's a good example of a consciousness, of singular consciousness. Let's see if your heart would have consciousness or something like that, and if it wouldn't like what you're doing with your body, well, it's gonna try to, try to get away from that body, right? And actually, I would argue it would expand so huge if you just apply this to your own body and understand that there are consciousness on your body. They call bacteria, and if you're trying to kill yourself, or in any way what would be called kill yourself, is harm yourself and all that, the bacteria is not going to like it. It's going to try to find any way to either stop you killing yourself, or it's just going to try to get away from your body, and it might harm you a lot. That's why I would say the stress that you can create for your body is killing you, literally, because you're losing the great bacteria that would support your life. Now you're losing them, and they no longer support you. This is such a huge perspective that you have to take in once you take in the flat earth. So many truths come to you, they come to you. But basically the truth about authority, that authority can support itself and harm you if it feels like it has full control, right? If you have full control of your body, you can harm it and you can destroy it, but you're still going to kill yourself at the end of the process. And that's what's going to happen to the government. If we're strong enough, we're going to get rid of the government, or they're just going to destroy the fucking world. Luckily, I think also nuclear weapons don't exist, so that's good. That's good. We shouldn't fear the government at that point. Anyways, the second point is the time you have to spend to research the topic. There's a lot of information out there, and the internet is just, the internet is becoming this consciousness as well, where you can just draw a lot of information and grow or connect into the consciousness, into the grid, basically, like be a part of the grid and give something new to it. That's really your part, right? He's just trying to become an individual that is kind of unique from everyone else. And again, you have to draw in is enough information, not be a noob and just like to be a noob, right? Whoever likes to be a noob is kind of showing the fact that they cannot learn and move forward with their life. It's just such a horrible thing to witness on the internet, which is so very often, because internet is kind of composed in the way where people can hide their identity, can be anonymous. It means that, well, of course, they're kind of just presenting the idea. They don't present themselves, but then they don't have the intention to be consistent, and they can basically lie, right? They might say something bad, but they don't really agree on it. They can do whatever they want with not having identity, not having consistency, and internet doesn't provide us with that. Internet doesn't provide us where you can press on the person's name and you know anything you need to know about his viewpoint of life. So that is something that is going to probably change in the future as well, of how we give information to people, how we treat people, how we silence people because they're not taking enough time to figure out what's going on and actually making sensible debates that don't waste time. That is very important. Stupid people waste a huge lot of time towards the process of just moving forward. We have the topic of AdventureCraft, which is a game engine. And I presented the idea that if you build on top of a lie, everything is just going to fall down. Well, that's what happened to me. AdventureCraft eventually died, and my engine that I tried to put on top of the AdventureCraft, something that I tried to create on AdventureCraft, I just had to let it go because it's not going to grow in any way, and I want it to be a lot bigger. And I knew the whole fan system, or the community, that the whole community is just going to collapse eventually because it erodes. And why Minecraft was able to sustain for such a long time to be this huge popular game and was able to grow and grow continuously, it was because Minecraft was continuously upgraded. New things were added to Minecraft. The game was constantly fixed. If games were constantly fixed and upgraded, there would be no need to go to another game and just, search for new games or release series of games that just have different numbers. You can just not change the game in any way, not make a new game in any way. You just take an old game and just maintain it. Why should you create Elder Scrolls out of 5 games when you can just have one really cool game that constantly updates itself, right? Not itself, of course, but that's the point. That you create a community and you suddenly, let's create a new game. That's kind of like shifting the community, but it's actually splitting it up, and it's really harmful. Where people kind of realize, there are new things in Fallout 4 that are not in Fallout 3, and I don't like that, and this just breaks the game because you're not really following the community to where the game only gets better. It doesn't get worse because you don't actually take risk to make it worse. That's why I like Hearthstone. Also would encourage people to kind of get into the Hearthstone hype as long as it's growing. I think that's why World of Warcraft was really popular, but eventually died off, and I didn't get a chance to play it because I don't like kind of MMOs in general. But the card game like Hearthstone is pretty awesome. It inspires me to create my own card game at some point, maybe. But again, the point is that you should not build something on top of a lie. If you do that, everything is just going to fall down. But if you can ignore the shape of the earth for now, maybe you should just do that. It takes a lot of time right now to research it. There's not an impactful like documentary that you can just watch in 2 hours and just be like, yes, that makes sense, yes, that's all great. I wish at some point we would have that in Flat Earth community, but I still don't think there is such a documentary that you can just give to people and say, you're gonna be mind fucked, but afterwards the shape of the Earth is gonna change for you. So that's weird. Anyways, the last point is to encourage people to understand how impactful it is, right? It makes sense because the globe doesn't make sense. And what else makes sense? Well, something flat, right? Something that God would create, something limited and very simple to test. If you view God as a programmer, then you want something very small, very limited to test, but also very tiny in detail, so anyone can pick it up and create their own alternative universes or virtual realities, what we actually call games. And I think games are the best presentation of experience in general. We can actually create experience we wouldn't be able to have anywhere else, right? That's how unique the gaming experience is. And yeah, I really encourage you guys, for anyone who cares about the shape of the Earth. And why should you care about it? Well, because of the transition, right? We go from A to B, which means we get rid of the authority for all the people. The worldwide government, or whatever, the global government, is a huge disaster. And now I understand why. It seems like, yeah, let's unite the world and stuff like that. Well, we can't unite the world. We have to unite each individual together, not countries, because countries are made of different individuals that may not actually make up an actual country. Because I don't think I'm a Lithuanian that much. I don't say so, really. I wouldn't like to be. So I just want to be an individual. I just want to be me, right? I don't want to represent a country. I don't want to, be born into something. Certainly not. I had parents, I left my parents, now I live on my own, and that's great. That's what every single person should do, rather than replace parents with the government and just stay there like, oh my god, government is supporting me, so I will support the government, and whoever stands in our way is just gonna be, destroyed. Well, that's not gonna happen if a lot of people are gonna stand up, and more people are gonna stand up once they see like there's huge conspiracies going on, and once it's revealed in a very great way, and if more people, make the effort to get this issue be heard, I really encourage you to take some action, right? And I really thank you guys for watching. This is the part 1. And the second part is gonna expand on the 5th point, where I'm trying to encourage people, and I'm gonna tell you more points of why this transition is so important. Because right now we kind of don't have the limit on the Earth, but once we do, things are gonna change quite dramatically. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next.